It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. From our DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with the road warrior, John Riley. We welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. We have a ton of topics on the table. We are back in the studio, so a lot of things that we do Monday and Thursdays, we're going to reinstall and do again today, so stand by for that. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations in San Diego. If you've got projects this winter going towards spring, you need people to talk to, you need consultants, you need DIXIELINE Lumber. And by North County Eye Centers of Poway and Escondido, when it comes time to have your eyes examined, whether it's glasses, contacts, whether it's a surgical procedure for glaucoma or cataracts, you need them. I've worked with them. They are great. North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. John Riley, road warrior, baseball scout, basketball fan, went to spring training, went to Vegas to see the Mountain West Conference tournament. Holidays over, back to work.
Back to work, but we're back in the studio, Lee. So we had a great trip. You know, the Aztecs kind of lost it there at the end, but the Padres are set up nice. It was a great trip, but happy to be here with you.
A couple of program notes. When we're done, we do what we do well. It's called Fans Forum, and we invite you to contribute. John, explain where we came up with this concept and how people can get involved right at the end of the show to co-host with us.
Okay, so you got a comment or question for Lee? You know, just jump on board, get in our Fans Forum. This is where you can ask questions. Type it in the live chat on YouTube, Facebook, or on X, and we'll get your question or comment to Hacksaw, and you'll get a reaction.
And a reminder, if you like sports, check my website. It's all written. It's posted every morning. It is unbelievable. And when you go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com, there's an orange box in the upper right. Have you joined the Insiders group? Fill that out so you'll get on our mailing list. Want you to share with everybody what we do. Tell them what we do on Mondays and Thursdays. Want you to subscribe. Therefore, you will get the alerts every time we put something up on our YouTube channel, and we do that a lot. John, let's talk March Madness. Let's talk hoops. Boy, have we got a lot of topics on the table.
There are. But before we get to it, I just want to say the best 15, it is unbelievable. That email that we create, you know, you write it, I just kind of send it out. But there's so much information in that, and it's like you get an instant snapshot of what's going on in the world of sports, from baseball to all the way down to, like, you know, soccer and auto racing. It's unbelievable.
You're missing something if you don't subscribe, if you don't join us on the Insiders group, because we send out the best 15 minutes in sports written to you every morning. So join the group. March Madness. Let's start with San Diego State. Item 1. Statement game in the big victory over Utah State. Red flag warning, the loss in the championship game to New Mexico. We had the good, the bad, and we had the ugly. That was an amazing 17-point come-from-behind win over Utah State in the semifinals. They were dominant. Jaden Ledee took over the game in the second half. He fouled out virtually all of the Aggies' big men. The guards played really, really well. San Diego State had a horrific start, rallied back, and won. Then they got to the championship game, and they went 14 down to New Mexico, ran uphill virtually the whole night, finally tied it, had the short lead. The game got away from them. You know, it was interesting in the Utah State game. I'm always big on payback. Here's Jaden Ledee, snubbed by the coaches, not named Player of the Year in the Mountain West Conference. So he showed them the credentials, what he did against Utah State with all those coaches sitting in the stands looking. He should have been Player of the Year, I think, in the Mountain West Conference tournament. He carried the Aztecs to the win. But then it was followed by an awful, disappointing loss in New Mexico. The same old traits showed up, John. Ledee had no shots in the first 10 minutes. He had no baskets in the first 16 minutes. And the guards who had played so well the night before played really poorly. Butler, Trammell, Waters went 6 for 25. They wound up going 3 for 12 on threes. And I said all along, if they're going to win this thing, the guards have to produce to take the pressure off the big guy. Big guy finally got it in gear. In the second half of both those games, the guards did not get it in gear against New Mexico. Aztecs have now lost 3 of their last 5 games. It's just not the same basketball team. And, of course, you got now 8 losses this season within the conference against the best the league has to offer. First round, NCAA tournament. They're going to play Alabama, Birmingham, UAB. End of the day, this domino fell in the favor of San Diego State. They're playing in Spokane, where they're very familiar with the court. Mm-hmm. Fans can get there and support. It's not a big-time travel thing. It's not at altitude, which is huge. And the guys coming to play them are going to travel 2,000 to 2,500 miles to get there and experience the Pacific Northwest. So this thing has worked out really well for San Diego State. Alabama Birmingham is not athletically equal to what the Aztecs are. They're not as experienced as the Aztecs are. And the fact that this is going to be a long 2,000-mile road haul for the Blazers, I think San Diego State gets through the first game. But that being said, then they're going to have to play Auburn in the second game, and that won't be easy because Auburn's got athletes, Auburn's got transfers, Auburn's got a passion play of a coach in Bruce Finch. So Aztecs get in the tournament, got a pretty decent seeding, and they're here. They're not going 2,000 miles east to go play in Orlando, what they did last season. So you sat there. I heard you screeching in the first half. I heard you cheering in the second half. Observation, San Diego State, good, bad, ugly.
It was a great environment, by the way. You go to Vegas and the fans are there. Everyone's wearing their gear. And there are like 5 or 6 groups of fans, Wyoming fans and Boise fans are all there watching all the games. So it's really cool. But Ledee is just a specimen. I mean, that guy, can be so dominant. And he's even hitting 3-point shots. I mean, it's just incredible. But to your point, you're right, man. When Waters goes dry and when Trammell can't hit the shots and when Micah Parrish goes 0 for 8 or whatever he's been on some of these games, the Aztec offense looks really bad. I mean, it just really struggles. So it's definitely a hot or cold thing. But, New Mexico, man, those guys are good. We always knew they had a lot of headroom. They could explode on you at any time. And I swear to God, Jalen House, that guy, where does he get all this energy from? Yeah. It's unbelievable how he's everywhere all at once on the court and the way he loves playing the villain. And it's just an amazing athlete and an amazing team. Wow. What a tournament.
Yeah. He hits 3-point shots, points to his bench, and then runs down the floor, points at Aztec fan.
Yes.
Just amazing player. And the energy level is beyond what you would normally expect. The motor never turns off. The mouth never shuts up either. Why with all the experience the Aztecs have in the backcourt, are they so erratic? I can understand Ledee having these stretches where no shots in 10 minutes because they're doubling them all the time. I can understand going 16 minutes without a basket just because of the defenses he faces, and he gets belted every time he's got the ball, either up high or down on the block. But why is there no consistency from 3rd and 4th year guards in the athletic program? That to me is the biggest disappointment - detriment.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, we've seen Micah Parrish and Darian Trammell get red hot. I mean, Reese Waters came here as a shooter. He seems to have kind of drifted away. He fell out of the starting lineup, and sometimes he'll disappear in games. So I don't know what it is. I mean, even Lamont Butler's shot sometimes seems off. And it seems like the 3-pointers, the opposite team is so easily strokes them. And our guys seem to struggle. They rattle in, they rattle out. I don't get it.
Is the stage now for the young guys, the young forwards, the bad boys, as I call them,
mm-hmm.
Might this stage in the tournament be a little too big for them because we haven't seen the productivity that we had seen through the first 2/3 of the season and crunch time at the end of the season from the big boys?
I know. I think the stage is going to be fine. For them, it's okay. The other Mountain West teams I worry about. But for the Aztecs, what they went through last year, they're going to be fine in terms of their nerves and the stage environment. But they're like you say, their guards have got to hit shots. And boy, it can be frustrating when they go on those cold streaks like they did at the very end of that New Mexico game. So I'm concerned, but I like that seed. A 5 is not bad when they didn't ship you out east. I mean, that seems to happen every time when the Aztecs get in. So all things considered, I think they got a pretty good draw, and it all sets up nicely, if it all goes according to plan, to have a rematch of the national championship game from last year.
In their bracket?
Yeah.
In their bracket. Now, we're reaching here, and I don't want to hurt my shoulder again, but they beat Alabama Birmingham. They get Auburn. If they somehow can beat Auburn, who's experiencing all the stuff in the Northwest for the first time, they could wind up playing UConn in that bracket. But that's a lot to happen. So we'll see. Aztec fans, we have anybody that roots for San Diego State, wants to join us, Fans Forum? Give us an opinion. What disappoints you the most? What surprises you the most? Join us in Fans Forum right now. Jump into the chat box and make a statement. I mean, we are now almost 35 games into a basketball season, and they are still hot and cold, Jekyll and Hyde, good and bad. In fact, I don't think they are right now what they were early in the season.
Well, it's every year the Padres. Every year the Aztecs seem to get better as the season goes on.
Hasn't happened this year.
But not this season. Yeah, it's been this like weird February and March. So hopefully they can turn on a light switch here for the big dance. But that's a lot to ask.
Okay, so we go from Aztec basketball. Let's talk to the bracket.
Oh, the bracket.
Here we go.
Here we go.
The bracket. Okay. The only thing you need to know when you fill this out, John, is use a pencil with an eraser.
Yeah.
I've never seen a college basketball season that has been so topsy-turvy. I think we had 7 different number 1 teams in the polls. Upset City over the weekend. 5 conference top teams got knocked out in the championship game and had to be an at-large team rather than getting the guaranteed slot. Let's just jump around here and talk. Top seeds. UConn, Dan Hurley has done it for a second year in a row, and this time he did it without Adamo Sanoga and Jared Hawkins. Those were the guys that were the triggermen for the Huskies beating the Aztecs in the championship game, and the Huskies having that spectacular season. UConn is back there. Kelvin Sampson's resurrection tour continues at the University of Houston. They got a bunch of three-point bombers. They got a really good guard in Jamel Sheed, and they've earned their way. They've been ranked number 1 some weeks, other weeks not. But Kelvin Sampson's a really good coach. You got the player of the year, Zach Edey from Purdue. He's finishing his career because he's already announced, the Canadian he's going to the NBA. 24 points, 11 rebounds per game. I think the most unique thing, and people will see it more close up when we see Purdue this weekend, is the jump in his athletic skill level. He's just not a big guy now. Now he's a mobile big guy who's got all kinds of shots at 7'3". And Hubie Davis, North Carolina, that's a pretty good basketball team. Now, they did not win in the ACC. I mean, it's stunning to me. They had ACC, there's so many teams here in the tournament, they got to play 5 games in 5 nights. They didn't get through the 5th game. North Carolina State beat them to take the crown. But Hubie Davis has got an unbelievable guard, I think one of the best guards in the country, in R.J. Davis, and they are gritty. So those are the top seeds. UConn, everybody says, is the team to beat. Let's look at the second seeds. Well, let me get your response to the top seeds first.
Okay, the top seeds. Well, I mean, Purdue is unbelievable with Edey. I mean, and even the complimentary guys can hit the 3. So that's a really interesting team to me. I just look at the list here over your shoulder. And who else? We had North Carolina. We had, Houston. I wanted to comment on this. My son lives in Houston. And I asked him, I go, are the people in Houston like really fired up for March Madness? He goes, oh, no, not really. It's like bandwagon fans out there in Houston, which caught me by surprise. But Kelvin Sampson, that's a hell of a coach.
Yes.
And he's had a little bit of a rocky road in his career.
I think the correct word is checkered.
Yeah, checkered, but he seems to be on the straight and narrow there. And it's a really impressive program. And they're just recent entries into the Big 12. And here they win the whole thing, or they came close to winning.
I concur with you. Okay, let's go second seeds. Nobody knows anybody on this team. This coach is a pretty good coach. They beat Houston and they beat Kansas twice this year. Talking about Iowa State. Talking about their coach, T.J. Otzelberger. He can recruit the hell out of a different breed of player, molds them, and gets them back into the tournament with like 20-plus win seasons. That's a good coach that I don't think anybody in the nation really knows about. You got Marquette. Shaka Smart. Boy, does he wear his heart on his sleeve, on both sleeves? Does he show it to you all the time? What a street fighter he is. What a great job. That Marquette team's pretty good. Tennessee, they've got a big shooter, transfer portal guy by the name of Dalton Connect, a Division II player.
Wow.
Who went and jumped into the SEC and has been very, very productive, shoots the three, etc. 6'6", and they got a good coach that doesn't have a big nationwide reputation in Rick Barnes, except that Rick Barnes has been lots of places and done lots of good things. And then there's Arizona. Now, they got toppled in the Pac-12 tournament, which was a bit of a surprise. But you got Tommy Lloyd, you got the Euro connection, you got Caleb Love, who I think is as complete a shooter as there is on the West Coast. Massive big guy, Ballo, Pelle Larson, the European invasion. Tommy Lloyd, last 2 seasons, what he has put together since he replaced Sean Miller, pretty impressive. So what do you think about the second seeds?
Okay, well, I've been watching a lot of Arizona games this year because Keyshawn Johnson's there, and he's really improved his game, by the way. I mean, he can hit the corner three now. Arizona is very tempting, and I was surprised they didn't, clear the deck there in the Pac-12. I mean, Marquette is another interesting team. By the way, I love Marquette's uniforms. The way they have the stripes kind of like down the side of the ribcage.
McGuire Marquette colors.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Throwback.
It is a throwback. So, and then Tennessee, they lost in their tournament. I think, was it to Mississippi State? That was unexpected.
So, second seeds, I agree with you. I think Arizona is going to forge their way through a bunch of rounds and maybe even become a Final Four team because they got an awful lot of talent there. Okay, let's go closer to home. Let's go to the Mountain West Conference. It was interesting. Brian Dutcher made a comment to me last week at the press conference. I'll guarantee you this, Lee. Each team in our conference, we're tired of playing each other. We're tired of the game prep. We're tired of the warfare on the court, beating each other up. Let's just go play someone else's colors. And if you think 6 teams, could have been a 7th with Vegas, 6 got to March Madness, and they banged heads all season long. So these 2 teams, if they're not worn out, these 2 teams should be prepared to handle anything. New Mexico, just blazing hot. Richard Pitino, the transfer, Jalen House, the transfer, Jamal Mashburn, the unbelievable freshman, Toppin.
Yeah, he's good.
They're really good. Bench might be a little thin, but their starters just play a ton of minutes, and they explode. New Mexico to be reckoned with. Utah State, they got to regather the momentum. Transfer University, all those kids that came with Danny Sprinkle, Montana State, and he inherited some other guys that jumped in at the last minute. That's a good team, but they've never been here, this level. This is different. His 2 stars are Division I AA or Division II guys. Haven't been here at this level this time of the year. Aztecs, can they play 40 minutes together and be productive? Which Aztecs team shows up which night? Colorado State, there's something that's missing. I like Niko Medvedev, the coach. He's hostile on the bench. He's just screeching at everybody, including his own players. There's just something that doesn't feel right about the Rams. They got Tyler Degenhart back, the big forward, but for a guy that's a third-year starter, he doesn't dominate like you think a 6'8" guy would. Do have a great guard in Isaiah Stevens. Nevada, you got Steve Alford with just a wealth of postseason tournament experience. Player, coach, they got to get their guards healthy. And in Boise and Leon Rice, they got bangers. They don't have phenomenal athletes. They're more grinders, but they can shoot the three. So this is the best year ever in the Mountain West Conference because of all these teams and all these transfers that have transformed the conference. Everybody on network TV, that's all they're talking about is the 6 teams that are making it from the Mountain West.
But a lot of their bids, except for San Diego State, were lower than everyone expected, which is because I think they're saying the non-conference schedule they didn't have any impressive wins other than San Diego State. And then now they're talking about expanding the conference regular season to 20 games?
Yeah.
And that's going to screw it up even worse.
Well, it'll take your ability to get good non-conference games. Now, the Wyomings of the world can't schedule good non-conference teams very often. The Aztecs can because of their reputation, because Aztecs. Front of the uniform says San Diego State. On the corner of the pants, it says Quad 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you play San Diego State, that's an important game. You put it on your schedule, whether it's Viejas or in your own building. So I just think it's been a mystical year. I don't know how many of these teams will get through the first round in this weekend. West Coast Conference. This is kind of interesting what's developed there. It's not the same. It's not Gonzaga. It's St. Mary's. We saw St. Mary's early in the season when the Aztecs punched him in the mouth, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a long season for Randy Bennett. They got progressively better and better and better as the season went on, and they are hot. You know, it's almost late March. St. Mary's has lost just 2 games since December 1st.
Wow.
That's how good they are.
Wow.
And they whacked Gonzaga and got them out the WCC title. Gonzaga, they're just not the same program in terms of lots of athletes, bigs and all that, but they're still good. Mark Few, I think, happens to be a great coach. Boise, the one guy on Boise that has really started to grow, and it's taken a while to get there, he was a transfer from Wyoming, Graham Ike. He's averaging 17 points, 12 rebounds a game. He's playing much, much better now. So Gonzaga will win some games, but it's not vintage Zags basketball with Drew Timme after 8 years graduated. But they'll win some games. The St. Mary's has really come together, and some of their foreign players and Aiden Mahoney are playing really well for the Gales. Thoughts?
Well, Gonzaga is not the same Gonzaga. You know, this is the year the Aztecs beat them, but they're a 5. They've got a tough assignment in that number 12. I think it was McNeese or something like that. They're red hot. So they're going to be walking into a difficult spot. But I love seeing my guy, Randy Bennett. He's another UCSD alumni, by the way.
I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah, he's been there forever. You know, talk about international recruiting. So love to see him have a run here. But those are the only 2 teams from the WCC that made it, right?
Now, top first round games. I'm always fascinated the first weekend, actually the first Thursday, Friday. You see matchups you never, ever see. You see teams that you know are good but you never saw on TV. You got the Zags versus McNeese. Yeah. McNeese is coached by former LSU coach Will Wade. Oh. He's got a whole pile of athletes, and they shoot the ball, and they run the floor, and he'll probably be out of there in a year to go back to true Division I. But Zags-McNeese will be an interesting comparison. St. Mary's against Grand Canyon. Wow. And Grand Canyon's become a really good program over in Phoenix. That's going to be a war because Grand Canyon, we saw what they did to the Aztecs. Grand Canyon is big, physical. It's a bunch of strokers. St. Mary is much the same. Virginia, Colorado State. I'm not sure why Virginia is in the tournament. There's a lot of screeching on the East Coast about why them and not somebody that won 23 or 24 games. Virginia, under Tommy Bennett, did not have a mystical season. They're going to play Colorado State. We'll have to find out what Colorado State is going to be like now. Will some of their guys show up? The one thing is that's going to be an ugly game because Virginia, they run the old Princeton offense. Like, we'll run the clock, and we'll run the clock, and we'll run the weave, and run the weave. And then, by the way, we might shoot it. They do play good defense. So I don't think that's going to be a high-scoring game. Fascinated to see Nevada versus Dayton. University of Dayton is a really good basketball program. And obviously, Steve Alford, Nevada's got a bunch of guys who can stroke it. And New Mexico, Clemson. I don't know. Is this too much for the Lobos? Game 1 against the ACC Tigers. Clemson, historically, has tons of guys who can jump. I don't know about the depth, whether the Lobos can actually hold up over 40 minutes against these guys. But then who would think Jalen House and those guys would play the way Jalen House and those guys play?
Well, I think New Mexico has a chance to go like 2 levels in to get to the Sweet 16. And I'm a homer for the Mountain West. I have to admit that. But there's another interesting game here. I mean, it's a 2 versus a 15, but it's Arizona against Long Beach State, and just the whole storyline with Dan Monson. You know how he got fired, but then his team went on to win the Big West. And oh, by the way, my alma mater, UCSD, could have been the Big West champion. You know, they came up just short, but someday my Tritons are going to be in this dance.
Well, as soon as they get eligible and get rid of the stupid transition rule, there'll be an opportunity.
Right, for sure.
But Don't sales pitch me the Long Beach 49ers are going to match up man-to-man against the Wildcats.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough assignment.
Not this lifetime.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so that's a look at March Madness. You're a basketball fan. You're a hoops junkie. Jump on board in Fans Forum. Get your question ready. Go into the chat box. We'll be answering your questions right at the end of our podcast. We get to halftime. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you. Does not matter what the project is, whether it's kitchen cabinets, whether it's flooring, whether it's bathroom vanities, whether it's front doors like he put on at his house, whether it's windows. Hey, these are the people to do business with. They've been with us since day one. You should do business with them. These are the professionals, DIXIELINE Lumber. And our Monday bonus podcast is also brought to you by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. Comprehensive eye care, state-of-the-art eye technology, whether it's just vision test, glasses, whether you need contact lens updates, or you need something significant like treatment for cataracts, glaucoma, or cornea issues, you need them. I do business there. I'm very pleased. North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido. And before we start the second half of our Monday bonus podcast, just a reminder, we want you to join our group, Hacksaw's Insiders Group. John, explain to everybody on live stream how they can be part of it.
Okay, so if you want to get like email updates of some of the most amazing content, Hacksaw is like a great writer. I mean, you do a lot of really good stuff with your one man's opinion and the best 15. You can get that delivered right to your inbox. Just go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com, go to the orange box, sign up for the Hacksaw's Insiders Group. And boy, we got a lot of neat things planned for the new year, so please join us.
And reminder, want you to share and subscribe. Tell everybody what we're doing. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating because we could use that help too. John, let's go from basketball to baseball. The baseball season starts Wednesday.
Yeah, are you going to be up early in the morning?
3 a.m., dude.
I think I'm going to set my alarm and watch the game for sure.
Yeah, Padres, Dodgers, and the Yankees. There's a lot of hot headlines here involving these teams. Let's first of all talk about the Dylan Cease trade with the White Sox. The Padres get the ace of the Sox staff, pretty competitive guy, great velocity, big power strikeout pitcher, misses a lot of bats. Now, he is not going to be on the active roster for this series Wednesday, Thursday with the Dodgers. He did pitch Sunday night and went 2 strong innings just to get acclimated in South Korea to his teammates and his team. He pitched okay as they hung on and they beat the LG Twins of Korea. So Dylan Cease will be there, and I like this Padre pitching staff because this Padre pitching staff right now, as I view it, has got the big 3. They got the young pitcher Michael King as the 4th, and then they'll have a myriad of guys, some of them came from the Yankees, will fight for the 5th position. You got that rotation with 9 guys in the bullpen who have all proven themselves at different roles, responsibilities. The Padres still have money to spend. I think A.J. Preller's saving what's left. We're led to believe it's $8 million left, saving it for the trade deadline if he has to do something, wants to do something, makes a deal for someone that makes a difference. I think I'd rather have that money in my pocket than do it now. They are continuing to talk to Tommy Pham, but it's a 1-year deal. It's worth $3 million. You know, Pham, when he was here, I think hit .211 and .226 with the Padres. He had about 5 substandard seasons. Last year he did hit pretty well with the Arizona Diamondbacks, but he's out there. I don't know whether they're going to sign him or not. Now, there is some real controversy. The New York Daily News yesterday released a story. Their baseball sources told them Padres ownership, upon the passing of Peter Seidler, told A.J. Preller, you will trade Juan Soto. There will be no more offers from us. In essence, you have to reduce the payroll by $100 million. Daily News quoted baseball sources that the Padres owners told Preller, this is the way we're going to operate. And the New York Post, in a baseball column, asked this question after watching 4 weeks of spring training and watching what's going on with the New York Yankees roster. They asked this question: does Juan Soto really fit in here? Now, we're not talking about Juan Soto's bat.
Right.
We're talking Juan Soto, who is deficient in left field. It's a team that has now moved Aaron Judge to play center field, and that's a big amount of territory to have to cover, and is concerned he's going to get hurt trying to play 130 games in left field or in center field. And they obviously have got questions now about their pitching. Their pitching staff is in tatters. They traded 4 arms in the Soto transaction. Now they lose Garrett Cole for at least 8 weeks, if not longer, if not possibly elbow surgery. That's a big blow. Carlos Rodon, who's been an accident waiting to happen ever since he left the White Sox, is getting shelled. He's got forearm problems again. And Nestor Cortez, who pitched well till he physically broke down last year. So suddenly, Yankees seem to have all these issues with their roster. Now people are second-guessing Brian Cashman. Yeah, you got Soto, and Soto may have MVP credentials, but look at the rest of your roster. Yankees, to me, look in trouble. Okay, comment on the Padres, what you saw. Comment on the Yankee storylines.
Well, the Dylan Cease trade, I still love it. I mean, even after sitting on it for a few days, terrific. I watched the game last night. You know, it was on late at night, like at 8 o'clock, and Cease pitched. And boy, when he was throwing, I hadn't really studied him before, but you just feel very confident that this guy is going to be rock solid. You know, there's no second guess in this. He's going to be a good quality pitcher.
He's a fierce pitcher. He's only had one crummy season on a crummy club last year.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, I think, a great deal for the Padres. And it's interesting, like you say, it's that trickle-down effect, because now you've got the 3 veterans. Then you got, in the 4th spot, you got King, and then you got all those other guys competing for number 5. But I'll tell you what, Matt Waldron, and that knuckleball was pretty crafty last night. I think he went 3 innings, a shutout ball.
He's had a very good spring. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe that's because it's spring training and people aren't used to seeing knuckleballs, and maybe when we get to opening day, people light him up. I don't know. I mean, he's a lifetime 4A player. Are you telling me a 4A pitcher is going to make a difference in a pennant race?
Yeah.
But maybe as the 5th starter, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, your thoughts on everything being written in New York?
Well, it's funny how the Yankee fans are kind of realizing what we felt in San Diego, that Juan Soto is an amazing player, but he sometimes doesn't really fit. And defensively, yeah, he's not very good defensively. We saw that plenty of blunders the last few years. But, you know, the Yankees got Trent Grisham that can play center field, no problem. Why don't they just DH Aaron Judge, or do they have someone else in the DH hole?
Well, they've got a young rookie by the name of Spencer Jones. Big, tall, power-hitting left-handed bat.
He's Carlsbad. Yeah.
He should have been in the Padre deal.
Yeah, wouldn't that been nice?
Yeah, I mean, there were a whole bunch of guys that I had at the top of my checklist that the Padres should have gotten that didn't get, that are still Yankee property. So I think Jones, I think he breaks camp with the club, I think, is the DH. But you can play Judge lots of different places. But, him running around in the outfield, he's big and lumbering. And, he runs into fences and things like that.
Well, didn't he go through a fence?
Yeah, he injured his foot.
Yeah.
Look at his toe.
Yeah.
Which kind of rocked his season. So I think there's probably some critique there that's got credibility. And the reality, their starting rotation is really hurt. You don't have Garrett Cole at the front end of the rotation. And, I mean, they are talking 8 weeks, don't touch a ball, and then we hope for the best. So what if they have to operate?
Oh, yeah.
That's a big issue there. So a lot of critiques of the Yankees right now. Brian Cashman, I'm surprised. I mean, they're not what they used to be, and he's been able to hold his job. But, boy, if this doesn't work this year, I wonder if something's going to happen to him.
Well, the Yankees fans always want their superstars, and they've been getting them. They re-signed Aaron Judge. They go out and trade for Soto. You think that would make the fans in New York happy, and they're still upset and still angry. They're so cantankerous.
Well, Giancarlo Stanton came at a hefty price from Miami, and he's been hurt.
Yeah, well, he's always hurt. That guy's rarely on the field.
He had 201 last year. He's making $30 million a year.
Well, that would be ideally your DH if everyone were healthy. But, Carlos Rodon, too, he was so dominant a few years ago, and he just hasn't done anything.
Well,
really.
He had injuries, forearm, shoulder, but wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Started like a house of fire with the White Sox. I think he was a number 1 draft pick, very high in the draft, too. Had a couple of good years, broke down, and just hasn't been healthy since that point in time. Let's talk about the Dodgers. Dodgers, look at their batting order. It's like they're just bludgeoning people in spring training. I think their record now is 14-3 overall, including the Japanese games. They're just out-hitting teams. And I think maybe the Dodger theory is we'll just slug our way to victories the first half of the season and then wait for all the other pitchers to get healthy to come off the disabled list. You tell me, is there a weak link in the Dodger batting order? I don't think so. By the way, Ohtani, 500 batting average through spring.
Unbelievable.
Now, that includes 0 for 3 before he's getting on the plane. He was hitting 750 before he had the last 0 for game. I mean, what a phenomenal thing there. They got the 3 young pitchers. They're taking them all to opening day. Bobby Miller, Gavin Stone, Mike Grove. Walker Buehler's on a faster track than they want him to be, but he's pitching okay. And obviously they're going to wait for Dustin May. Then we'll see what happens with Kershaw. Yash Yamamoto. Now, I'm not going to run around and saying the barn is on fire, but he's had 4 outings. 2 of them he's gotten rocked. His ERA is 8.58 in spring training, yes.
Wow.
And we talked about looking at video of him in Japan. And you say, boy, is that stuff wicked. And he had 1 good outing. Then he struggled a second outing. Then he had a 1-inning outing that was okay on a backfield, and then he got lit. 8.58 ERA. Now, this is the first time through the blocks for him. Too much too soon? I'm not saying he's going to fail, but that's really odd. And how important is Ohtani in the Dodgers? I don't know if you saw this. The LA Times yesterday put out its sports section, then put out a 24-page supplement. And here I was ripping it open. I thought, it's great. It's going to be preview each of the divisional races, look at the teams. It's 24 pages of Ohtani. I mean, articles, tons of pictures. Ohtani, the high school player, Ohtani in Japan, Ohtani with the Angels, Ohtani with surgery, Ohtani's wife, Ohtani's family, Ohtani's former coaches and opposing players. It's a fascinating piece of journalism. 24-page section just dictated towards Showtime.
Amazing.
Okay, go ahead.
But you said that the LA Times was changing their whole strategy, right?
Yeah.
They're giving up on all the data and the box scores, and they want these magazine articles.
Yeah. Well, why don't you, if that's the case, I like the LA Times, past tense. If that's the case, just bring back the LA Times Sunday magazine, which was very good, very slick. But not having game stories and having 3:30 p.m. deadline. That's absurd. I don't know anybody else. If anybody else in the world was running it, you say, oh, maybe they've stumbled. There's nobody else in the newspaper business doing that.
No.
The LA Times, second market in the country.
But the newspaper industry is so upside down right now. I mean, but to go into the other comments there, Yamamoto, I'm very interested to see how he does. His whip and ERA were really low in Japan. And so, you got to face big boys now. It's a little different. But, again, it's spring training. We'll see how it goes. But it's hard to find any weakness in this Dodger team. The only thing we can root for, as at least for me as a Padre and Giants guy, is that Dave Roberts is going to somehow screw this whole thing up in the playoffs again.
No, how mean are you?
But what? I mean, they're just so loaded. They've got everything. It's like an embarrassment of riches. So, we'll see how this whole thing rolls out. The kids have got to pitch well in the beginning of the season. There's some ifs and maybes there. The defense is a little weird, a little different this time, but still, I mean, it's hard to give them anything less than an A- the way this roster is constructed.
Okay, Swami says.
Oh, here we go.
Opening day, Wednesday, Thursday, Dodgers, Padres, 3 a.m. All buy the donuts. You get the coffee on the front stove. Record. The Dodgers are going to slug their way through the first half of the season. They'll have all this pitching. The young guys hopefully will grow, and then we'll get Walker Buehler back. Maybe by May.
Right.
And then they believe Dustin May, probably June 1st. Kershaw, they think, in August. Now, you're going to add that to the guys that are already there. I'm projecting the Dodgers to go 101-61.
Wow.
And they got a great batting order. Holy cow, great batting order. Only negative to me with the Dodgers, I got defensive deficiencies. Gavin Lux is just freaked out.
Yeah.
Playing second base now, bouncing throws from second. And Max Muncy's no Gold Glove guy at third base. So there's a little bit of infield issue there. And Mookie Betts is going to play a new position, a different position. A major league shortstop's different than when he played high school shortstop. So that'll be fascinating. I got him 101-61. Padres, I like the big three. In fact, I think the Padre big three up front of the rotation is better than the Dodger big three at the front of the rotation.
All right.
And there's strength in numbers. Padres have got 9 bullpen guys at all different levels. The Dodgers got a lot of throwers, But a whole bunch of those guys are coming off surgeries, elbows, shoulders, etc.
Yeah, Daniel
so far,
Hudson.
so good.
Yeah,
Does not guarantee it's going to be like that during the season. I got the Padres going 90-72 because you got to play the Dodgers 13 times. You got to play Arizona, World Series, Arizona, 13 times. Now, they'll mop up the Giants. They'll mop up the Rockies along the way. But that's 90 wins, and maybe that's a second-place team. You could argue with me, but you'd be wrong. And John Riley says, broadcasting from left field.
From left field. Well, first of all, Dodgers, it's weird predicting a team's going to have over 100 wins. But this is a team that you would obviously do that. I can't see any scenario where they win less than 90.
Well, unless somebody breaks down.
But even if one guy breaks down, they got all this depth. I mean, it's just insane how stacked that team is. So let's just assume they win 101. That sounds good to me. I agree with you. I think the Padres are also going to be better than they were last year because I think the chemistry is going to be better, and I really like Mike Schultz.
Yep.
I think his leadership is going to make a difference in the clubhouse. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're going to win 90, but I would definitely have them in the high 80s, and I think the Padres are a wild card team this year.
Dodger fan, are you going to join us in Fans Forum? Padre fan, you want to argue with or against us? Jump on board now, Fans Forum, right at the end of our podcast. One other baseball note, because it's not good everywhere in baseball.
Yeah, the Astros, I mean, I saw this with Blake Snell. Are they going to, maybe sign this guy?
They're talking. Why? Houston's got 5 pitchers that are hurt. We are now 10 days out of the start of the baseball season. Verlander will not be ready to start the season. They put Jose Urquidy, the left-hander, on the DL today with a forearm. Now they're talking he may need surgery. There is no Lance McCullers. J.P. France has been slow to come back from shoulder issues. Luis Garcia is not ready. He'll be on the DL. They've really been decimated here. And like I say, they're looking. They're talking to Snell, talking to Scott Boras. They've reopened, and the package I was told that they offered 3 years, 96, which gets Scott Boras where he wants, top average for pitcher. So 3 years, 96. But like anything else with Scott Boras, I make you my best offer. He takes my best offer, turns it around, throws it back at me and said, but you got to add this on.
Yeah.
He wants the opt-outs, to which Jim Crane, Houston owner, says no. Because where Houston is in the payroll, they would have to give up a 3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick and forfeit $1 million of international signing bonus money. To get him for 1 year? You sign him for 3, but you give Scott Boras the opt-outs? No, that's not good business sense. So that thing is stalled. The Giants are back in it, but the Giants are doing what everybody else is doing. We'll give you 3 years. Giants do have the budget space to go 30 per season. We'll give you 3 years, 90. We're not giving you an opt-out. Boras can't get an opt-out anybody. Did you think we'd be here almost to the last week of March and Blake Snell is not in anybody's camp? Jordan Montgomery's not in anybody's camp? Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. I mean, I keep checking the news every day to see if anyone's getting a sniff here on Blake Snell. It's just really hard to believe. But isn't it interesting how on one side of the marketplace you got teams like giving Ohtani nearly $1 billion, and then other guys are signing for these insane contracts here in San Diego with Bogarts and Tatis. But for some reason, the owners sort of wised up when it came to Blake Snell.
Well, he's so skitterish.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw brilliance last summer from May 1st on, ERA of 1.23. From May 1st on in Major League Baseball. And we saw brilliance when he was dominant in Tampa, and he's won the Cy Young twice. But in between, that's a 5-inning pitcher who throws a lot of pitches, and you're going to give him a 7-year contract?
Right.
Or a 3-year contract? And then I'm going to give up high draft picks so he could take the money the first year and opt out? If I were king, if I were general manager, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How they're smart about it now. It seems like they weren't smart before. But I agree. It is a bit of a gamble. I think Snell still is going to have some good years. I don't think it's going to be as rocky as it was in the rearview mirror. But isn't it also interesting that the teams that he is most likely to go to are the ones that are up against the cap, have the luxury tax problems like the Yankees and Astros, and those additional penalties are really a thorn in the side of those owners. And
a lot of people don't realize how complex the collective bargaining agreement luxury tax program is. If you go over the tax the first time, that's okay. Do it a second time, you pay a minimum tax. If you do it a third year in a row, you pay a mega tax. And if you're like some of the people, like the New York Mets owner, Steve Cohen, who've gone into a fourth level, another solar system, your tax is like 130, 150% of the contract you gave Blake Snell. You can't do that.
Yeah.
That's the gripe with the Yankees. And the Yankees, they need him, but if they sign him to a $30 million deal, their tax is $33 million. That's a $63 million investment for the first year for Blake Snell. And it'll be that same amount going forward. That's too much money.
And then he gets to opt out after the first year, and you've lost all those other penalties, like the draft picks and the international pool money. It's just bizarre how we're this far into it. And then the other guys like Tommy Pham, he hasn't landed anywhere. There's a number of other good names out there.
J.D. Martinez. But those guys have got veteran age on them. Tommy Pham has not been a dominant player. He's had a hot spot year here and there.
Yeah.
J.D. Martinez is okay, but he's a one-dimension guy, bat in hand, designated hitter. That's it. And these guys are asking for, in Martinez's case, 2 years, $30 million for a DH, age 36.
But do you think maybe those guys are going to announce their retirement because they're realizing no one's going to sign them?
Nah, they'll wait for somebody else to break down, but they won't get the money they thought they were going to get. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. Major League Baseball. Anybody's a Snellzilla fan, jump on board in Fans Forum. Want to hear what you got to say. Let's turn, because of all the other things we're talking, March Madness. There's not enough hours in the day to do this. No. March Madness, spring training, Dodgers, Padres. Oh, by the way, NFL free agency started last week.
It's been wild. I mean, you've been showing me the lists of all these guys that are moving around.
All right, let's talk about hot names. First 5 days of free agency, John, a record 170 players changed teams. Whew. Everybody went on the market, and a lot of them got big paydays. Now, the Rams, that's the first logo up there on our board. They got ambushed. They did not see this coming. They lost Aaron Donald. He's the heart, soul, and the toughness of the Rams defense. The Pro Bowl defensive tackle leaves the game after 10 years. He made volumes of money, did not have any catastrophic injuries. He's elected to retire, and this is a huge blow. 111 sacks, 175 tackles for losses. I dare you, if you watch any of the sports reports, and they're talking about Aaron Donald, they'll show you B-roll video. Watch how many guys hit him on any given play. Double team, triple team. And he's still making the tackle at the line of scrimmage or the tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
Wow.
He's just an unbelievable specimen. Tremendous career. He's elected to leave. Now, I don't understand this one, but the Rams have signed Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback, let go by the Raiders, failed in San Francisco, cut loose by New England. They've brought him in. There's a weird facet to this whole backup quarterback story behind Matthew Stafford. Nobody in Rams Park is talking about Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
He left the team during preseason, has not been there since. They won't say whether it's a physical health issue or whether it's a mental health issue. I mean, the silence, the cone of silence around Stetson Bennett is really odd, and I don't know if we're ever going to get a description as to what's happened to him. So that's the Rams story. The next one, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is different. They get 2 starting quarterbacks at low price. Pittsburgh first got Russell Wilson after he was cut loose by Denver last week. They get him for $1.1 million on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. $1.1 million for a legendary Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah.
Then they traded on Friday for Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. They got him for only a 6th-round pick. Think about that. Justin Fields was a high 1. Bears get rid of him for a 6.
Wow.
He's only making $3.2 in the final year of his contract. So they've got 2 proven quarterbacks for under $5 million in Pittsburgh, and they're going to compete and see who gets the job, although I tend to think probably Russell Wilson will be the starter and Justin Fields will be the change of pace guy. Mike Tomlin really likes Justin Fields. So that was fascinating to see how that came about. The Chargers, because you were off on vacation watching hoops and drinking beer and eating hot dogs at spring training, we haven't had the chance to talk about the Keenan Allen trade. They were up against the cap really badly. I guess the thing that really bothers me, and Keenan Allen was a great player. He was not a number one pick. He might have been a third-round pick out of Cal, had a history of knee problems. He's had a great career, 904 receptions with the Chargers, tremendous route runner, tough guy, and all that. They asked each of their big money guys to take a pay cut so the Chargers could make the salary cap. They had to do it by last Wednesday. And Joey Bosa elected to give up his roster bonus that he was due this past weekend. Khalil Mack gave up his roster bonus that he was due. Between them, it's $11 million money they gave back. They went to Keenan Allen. They asked for the same thing. Would you give us money back? He said no. He said, I caught 904 passes for you. I had a unbelievable season. I deserve the money I just earned. At which time they turned around and within a couple hours, he had been traded to the Chicago Bears. So I kind of felt bad it ended that way. I feel bad for Justin Herbert. Herbert's lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, his tight end Gerald Everett, and his running back Austin Eckler.
Wow.
He doesn't have much offense around him now,
No.
and most of the free agents are signed. So that's a bit of an issue there. So they also let go Kenneth Murray, number one draft pick, turned out to be a bust. They could never define his role. He went to Tennessee Titans. Eric Kendricks, big free agent, came from Minnesota, played 1 year, played okay. He's gone. Eckler's gone to the Washington Commanders. Mike Williams is visiting the Steelers as we speak on a Monday afternoon. Gerald Everett went to the Chicago Bears. They've rejuvenated their entire offense. So it's just not the same Charger team right now. So let's talk about the first three teams on the board there, the Rams, the Steelers, the Bolts.
Yeah, I was wondering about Stetson Bennett. Thanks for bringing that guy up. I'm curious because he obviously national champion 2 years, right? So I like to see him perform. The Steelers, those guys, they always outsmart everyone, don't they, it seems? And I never really thought that both Fields and Wilson would go to the same team.
I thought Fields was going to Atlanta, but Kirk Cousins beat him to the front door with the big money contract.
Yeah, I mean, we had all these different scenarios, but never did I think those two would go to the same team. And what an upgrade over Pickett. And then who was the other kid they had there at the end?
Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph. Yeah, they're serviceable backups, but they're not going to lead the team to the championship. So this could work out if Wilson kind of tutors Fields. That could be great. But I want to ask you a question, Lee. With the Chargers and restructuring contracts, and you say give back money, are they literally giving back money, or are they just taking the same money but extending it over a longer period of time?
You can't extend it because that has cap implications a year from now or 2 years from now. What they did with Bosa and Khalil Mack, their original contracts had a roster bonus that was due to be paid March 7th or March 10th, whatever it was. And they went back to them and said, we have cap problems. We want you to give up the roster bonus you're due. These guys are making $30 million, so Joey Bosa giving up $4 million, Khalil Mack giving up a $7 million roster bonus. That's actually hard money that comes off the contract.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen, the Charger fans are really angry that he's gone.
Should he have given money back to stay and finish his career as a one-team superstar?
Oh, no. Take the money, man. Take the money. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of cash.
Okay, so he's gone to Chicago. Let's look at the other teams on the board. Dallas Cowboys. Boy, the bloodletting there has really been weird. Not Dak Prescott, but Tyron Smith, their cornerstone left tackle, released. Tyron Smith just signed with the New York Jets. Tony Pollard, do everything young running back. Now, we're not talking about Ezekiel Elliott with 200,000 miles on the tires. Tony Pollard's gone. He goes to the Tennessee Titans. Michael Gallup, who had been plagued by injuries the last year, prior to that was an explosive guy. He got let go. He has not yet signed. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins bails. They're trying to re-sign Justin Jefferson to a big extension. I think they'll get that done. They lost the other tight end, Danielle Hunter. That's a big blow. They couldn't sign everybody. Vikings did go get a running back, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, former Green Bay Packer, reliable, heavy-duty guy, pass, catch, and run. And then they picked up Sam Darnold. That's their starting quarterback, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. Hey, maybe Kevin O'Connell, the coach, is walking around with holy water, and he can convert this guy to become a good quarterback because all the three places he's played, they've all let him go. So then that's the Vikings story. The Eagles. Eagles traded for Kenny Pickett. I don't understand this transaction because Kenny Pickett is a different quarterback. This is a big pocket passer thrower. Jalen Hurts creates, runs around, does the RPO. That's not Kenny Pickett. That's a weird acquisition to me, unless maybe they don't think that Jalen Hurts is going to be able to stay healthy. So I thought that was a strange hire. And then you got the Denver Broncos. Your starting quarterback. The Denver Broncos who gave us John Elway. The Denver Broncos who gave us Peyton Manning. The Denver Broncos that gave us Super Bowl trophies. Your starting quarterback in the Mile High City is Jarrett Stidham. There's no more quarterbacks left to sign. They're going to draft a quarterback at number 12 and develop him. Here's the stat, and this is the ideal time to talk about money because they have to file our taxes soon.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos have an all-time record, $87 million in dead money against the cap. By virtue of the Russell Wilson thing, but some other players too.
Right.
Von Miller, who left 2 years ago and all that. So what a disaster Denver is. Can you say last place Denver Broncos?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, but like the Vikings, where are they in the draft?
I want to say 12. I think they're right in front of the Raiders.
Okay, so the Vikings are going to likely get a quarterback in this draft.
If it's the right guy. But, you know, everybody, once you get beyond the top three, the next three are iffy.
Exactly. You know, and so, yeah, and Sam Darnold, I mean, yeah, he was with, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Niners?
Yes.
Is that where he's been? So, yeah, I mean, he's like a nice backup guy there. But, yeah, Kevin O'Connell is interesting kind of history there, where that 1 year they were winning all those close games, and then last year, you know, they struggled, and Kirk Cousins blew out his leg. Is Kevin O'Connell's job in danger?
No, because I was told that O'Connell's making all the player personnel decisions.
Oh, wow.
Smart guy, bright light.
Yeah, he is.
So that's where we are. That's what's gone on around the National Football League. Just absolutely amazing. 170 players change teams in a 5-day window around the NFL. Hey, our Monday bonus podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. There are 9 locations here in San Diego. You need help, you got a project, you want some advice, you need a consultant. Drive over to any of the DIXIELINE stores, take a stroll around, talk to their people, find out what they can offer. And by North County Eye Centers of Poway and Escondido, we're all going to need help with our eyes somewhere down the road, whether it's just a vision test, whether it's new glasses, whether it's cataracts, or something more significant. I've taken my business to North County Eye Center. I'm very pleased. They will help you. North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. It is time for the very popular... Here we go. Fans Forum.
Fans Forum. All right, here we go. Let's get Callan Max Sports in. He says, hey, Lee, other than March Madness and the Super Bowl, what's the next best sporting event you watch every year?
I like everything. So, I mean, that's a stupid answer from a stupid talk show host. I like the opening of March Madness. I just think that's electric because that's where all the upsets are. In schools you never see, players you only heard about, coaches that become something special. I like the first weekend of March Madness. NFL playoffs, but see, John and I we're junkies. We get excited about opening day in the National Football League as well as Week 11, plus what happens in postseason play. Unless you've been in hockey and covered the Stanley Cup or broadcast hockey, you don't understand the Stanley Cup is the toughest trophy to get because they're all best-of-7 series, and there's no place for the timid when it comes to Stanley Cup. I would say those three are the neatest. I think historically, I used to love the bowl games. I mean, here's a kid who grew up on eastern Long Island in the snow and watched the palm trees and the sunset at the Rose Bowl. That was always special to me, but that mystique, unfortunately, has all gone away.
Yeah, this is interesting to think this one through. In my head, I had Stanley Cup for sure, but the World Cup, I think, has got to be on that list, even though it's once every 4 years.
And soccer's really become a global game with a big attention span now here in the United States.
Yeah. And then, by the same token, I think you could put the Olympics in that category as well. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed last year was watching the festivities of the pregame of the Indy 500 and all the pageantry there. And it's just so Indiana, and how they make that a special event. And I think there's a lot of events like that, whether it's the Masters or the Kentucky Derby, that has all that pageantry that is really special.
Yeah, very much so. Good question. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go here to Michael. And he says, hey, the NCAA basketball tournament, the best reality show ever on television, is starting this week.
Michael, here's the question. The games are spread out over 26 stations. How do you view all the games at once? Do you do 26 boxes on your TV. How do you do that?
Well, I'll tell you what. On YouTube TV last year had a feature where you can show all the games at the same time, and the NCAA broadcast kind of does it by default at times. But what do you have to go? CBS Sports Network, and then TNT, and then what is it, like True TV is one of the other stations. But this is a great time of year. My buddy runs a pool every year. He takes Thursday and Friday off of work, automatic vacation days.
Basketball flu.
Yeah, just so we can watch the games for both games all day. So love this time of year. March and October are the two best sports months.
On we go.
On we go. All right, let's go here to Tim. He says, memory lane question. Fondest memories of the Chargers' magical 1994 season, and can you believe it's been 30 years? And do you remember, still have the compilation of the season's radio broadcast highlights that played on Extra 690? It's nowhere to be found on YouTube.
Well, I'll give you one item where you can find something that's kind of cool. And I had taken part in this because I helped NFL Films do it. And it totally got away from me. I've forgotten about it over the years. But if you YouTube Chargers Road to the Super Bowl, it will take you to the 30-minute documentary that we did about the Chargers' road to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh, in Blitzburg, against the Steelers. And it's right there on YouTube. It is really cool, and just stuff flashed back to me. In terms of memories, granted, the Super Bowl was a tough night at the office. Chargers got beat, 6 touchdown passes from 49ers quarterback Steve Young. Tom running one of the best offenses of all time, I think. But to me, my memory, and John and I have talked about this, and we'll do it again, the memory was the trip, the journey. The journey to go through the entire Chargers season from getting hot early to the quarterback getting hurt at midseason, to having a quick start kind of evaporate because they got a bunch of losses, and then getting hot again, and winning games in the toughest venues at all, especially at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, winning that game in a near brawl, winning in Seattle on a 99-yard touchdown pass, beating the bleep out of the Raiders and Al Davis as they were throwing interceptions, and the Chargers kept taking them back for touchdowns. Those, to me, the journey of that is what stands out more than just what happened on Super Bowl Sunday. And I felt bad that we got blown out, but the reality was that was a great, great team. But I flash back instead to all the big games and the events that happened. And it all started on opening night in Denver. We played a late afternoon game against Elway. Always in 3 amigo wide receivers.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd always go down the field and score in the final 2.5 minutes. And I thought they're going to do it again. And what made that thing eerie, it was a Sunday night game. It was hot and humid, thunder and lightning across the sky. And Elway throws an interception on the final possession. Junior Seau picks it off, and the Chargers win. And they never bleeping won ever in Denver, going back to even to the Dan Fouts days. So the journey to me is the most important thing.
Yeah, the journey was great, but how about the way San Diego came together? Oh. And it wasn't just the hardcore sports fans, but everyone was in Charger mode. And given all the disappointment, and with the Holy Roller and we can make a list of all the Charger catastrophes. This was a magical run. I don't think we expected the Chargers to have that kind of a season.
Came together, once in a lifetime opportunity. I remember Stan Humphries saying, "Oh, we'll get back there." Well, you don't get back there.
No.
Never the same team. Things changed. Things changed radically for them, with players dying, with career-ending injuries, etc. So it's a different time. It's interesting you bring this up as we're into 2024. The saddest part to me, not that we lost to the 49ers, saddest part to me is like the community has forgotten. The media has paid no attention to that 1994 season. And as you say, 30th anniversary coming up. Newspaper writes everything about soccer and all this and that. Do something on the 30th anniversary of the Super Bowl. They didn't do anything on the 25th anniversary. Mm-hmm. I was the only one on TV. I was on CW6 at that point. I did a 25th anniversary thing about that season. That bothers me that, quote, our community doesn't remember the greatest moment in pro football history for our community.
It's a weird thing, because everyone's so down on Spanos for taking the Chargers away. But, sometimes you get a little bit of crap for continuing to report on the Chargers when so many people in San Diego have given up on them. I mean, have you ever wavered on that? Have you ever thought, well, maybe I want to pick a different team to be my primary?
No, because I cover everything in the NFL.
Okay.
I mean, all you need to do is just go to my website and read the best 15 minutes in sports. It's all written. My football section, it covers everything. Now, do I cover the Chargers? Yeah, because that's where the most names are recognizable. But I'm not going to blow them out just because they blew us out as a city supporting its team. But that's okay. You're getting all the information in the NFL. I just package it because I do pay attention to the Chargers, and I do find I get a lot of response from Charger fans. Whether they like them or hate them, they respond.
They do respond. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to El Duque. He says, go Lobos, and Mountain West Conference hopefully make some noise.
I don't know how many of them go beyond the first round. San Diego State is pretty good. New Mexico is unbelievably gifted on offense. But they're playing Clemson, and that's big boy basketball. You're not playing anybody in the Mountain West, so we'll just see which team shows up there. But this has been a fascinating college basketball season, the best season ever, and I've been here a long time covering this. And it's the transfer portal, which has broken a lot of teams up. Transfer portal made teams in this conference because there are players everywhere, and these coaches went and found guys, and they found guys who were bounce backs from Oklahoma State or TCU or Ohio State like Jaden Ledee. And they found small college guys that played at 1AA schools or Division II schools and elevated them. They could play at this level. That whole Utah State team is so fascinating. Well, they got 24 wins, and they did not have one player coming back from last year.
Yeah.
And they rebuilt it with a whole bunch of guys that played at a lower level that show they could play up here. So it's transfer portal has helped make this kind of a unique season.
Well, how many years have we gone here where the Mountain West, until last year when State went deep, we haven't had a Mountain West team really get beyond the Sweet 16, have we?
No, the Aztecs, I think, about the only one in modern day times.
So remember when Utah made the Final Four? Was that Mountain West or was that the WAC?
Oh, I think that was the WAC. You're talking about the Rick Majerus.
Yeah, Rick Majerus, yeah.
I think that was the WAC days.
Yeah, so that was probably like a little over 20 years ago, right around the turn of the century. For me, I'm all in. Homer, Mountain West, hope those teams do well, especially since they felt they got snubbed in their seedings.
Yeah, and San Diego State has obviously been snubbed by virtue of what happened in the 30-2 season when COVID wiped out the schedule.
Oh, God. That was terrible. San Diego sports curse.
Carry on.
Okay, let's go here to John. He says, hey, just hope the Aztecs don't get fixated on what they will think is their second-round game against UConn and overlook UAB.
No, the Aztecs are so violent. They are so big and so physical. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll go back to what I talked about getting to the end of the Mountain West season, John. Plain and simple, San Diego State's guards have to show up and play. What's Superman when he doesn't do well? It's because of kryptonite. Is that what it is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Jaden Ledee's kryptonite are his guards right now.
Yeah, they are.
Because you never know what you're getting from one night to the next, and those guards have to stroke it. They have to hit baskets. They're going to play defense, and no doubt there'll be some turnovers, but they got to put points on the board to take the workload off Jaden Ledee. He can't do it by himself.
No, he can't. And when they were double and triple teaming him even before he got the ball.
Now, I'd never seen that before. I'm glad you mentioned that. What a job that Patino did at New Mexico. When they posted Jaden Ledee down on the block, as the ball swung to that side, they doubled him before there was ever an entry pass.
Yeah.
And when he came out high post out by the foul line to try to run something, they doubled him before the ball ever got there. Most of the time they couldn't get it to him. That's why he went 10 minutes without a shot and 16 minutes without a basket. They could not get the ball into him.
They couldn't. Yeah, and there's going to be so much game film studied of him by these new teams in the tournament. But, really the second round game for the Aztecs, if they make it, is this far, is going to be Auburn. Yeah, and that's Chad Baker-Mazara, former Aztec coming back. And he's had a really nice season with Auburn. The UConn game would be the third game, but we're now really counting our chickens.
That's the second weekend here.
Yeah. So I like the Aztecs. I'm not too worried about a 5-12 upset. I think those 5-12 upsets will be in other parts of the bracket.
Yeah, but I'm worried about the backcourt for certain. Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, let's go here to Zach Botsford. He says, so sad. I miss Hacksaw on 690. What great times. He's back, though. Only the best.
Well, thank you. You are right. We're all bleeping brilliant. Now, we had a great run. Loved it. Miss it. My friends, all the guys in radio I work with, we talk all the time. It was a great, great sports talk radio station. And it was unique and different. We were the first ones through the wall. Nobody had ever done it before. And sadly, corporate radio ruined it. I've got friends they were all watching probably the O Canada line, as I say, with a whole bunch of guys in Winnipeg and Edmonton. in Vancouver. They all lost their jobs in sports talk radio because corporate radio came in and wrecked those stations up there, like corporate radio did to the legendary 690, and then after that, the 1090. So just it's a different landscape right now. But you're right. We had fun. We did pretty well when we weren't arguing with each other.
It's incredible how many people rediscover you in YouTube or in other parts of social media, and they're just so happy that they have found you again.
What we got to do, we have to figure a way for everybody that's our best friend here that's subscribed. We need to have a mass way for you to send out messages to everybody about what we're doing. I mean, the numbers that John and I have built on our podcast in about 15 months are just amazing. And what we're doing on all the social platforms, except the one that he likes, TikTok, it's probably going to go away. But what we need to do is somebody come up with a game plan to help us spread the word on social media about what we're doing on social media. Just tell everybody what our mailing address is.
Well, it has to be fan supported, like, follow, share, and subscribe, spread the word. It's not like, we've got billboards of Hacksaw along Highway 5 promoting the podcast. It's got to come from the fans.
Okay, a couple more here before we put a lid on it.
All right, let's go to 4RXLA. The Bears practically gave Fields away to the Steelers.
Well, I went back. It's a good question, XRA. I went back and did a statistical analysis, a deep dive on Fields. 40 touchdowns, 46 turnovers in his career, 135 sacks in 3 years. As gifted and as athlete as he can be, strong arm in it or busting the pocket and running for big games, the guy turns the ball over a lot. And the guy's ability to read defenses holds the ball too long. 135 sacks in 3 years. Wind up in a hospital playing like that. That's why they couldn't get anybody interested in him. It wasn't a contract thing. His dollars are only $3.2 million this season. So the fact he was a high first, and they gave him away for a 6, and we'll see if Mike Tomlin and those people can fix him or grow him. It'll be interesting. He was also waylaid by the fact he's played on a bad Bears team. They've had very negligible offense last group of years. Haven't had great offenses hardly ever in Chicago. So we'll see if they can polish him and build him to be more productive. Because the turnovers, 46 turnovers, 135 sacks in 3 years. Ooh.
Well, it was weird how the Bears kind of signaled to the whole world they were going to take Caleb Williams. So it makes it harder for them to trade Justin Fields. Everyone knows they want to dump him. So they use that as leverage in the deal.
And they drove the price down when they said that.
Exactly. Yeah, I was surprised they did that. Is there any chance the Bears take anyone other than Williams?
No.
Yeah, that's a stone cold lock.
The rumor mill now is that the top 3 picks in the draft are going to be quarterbacks. And the other rumor mill is there's of the top 6 picks, 4 of them are going to be quarterbacks.
4?
Well, J.J. McCarthy evidently has rocketed up.
Well, we were saying he might even be a first-round pick.
Well, that was before we started to see what he did, and everybody around the country started to praise him. I'm still not convinced he's a top 5 pick in the draft. He was lucky he played at Ann Arbor, lucky he played for Harbaugh, lucky he had 2 power running backs, a massive offensive line, 2 good receivers, and a great defense. This guy is not a one-man show. This guy manages the games.
Who's the second quarterback to come off the board, do you think?
Well, that's a great question. Jaden Daniels has jumped a lot, has come up the board. So that I'll be fascinated to see if this is true. Jaden Daniels was a one-man gang at LSU. So at this point in time, is he the guy? I'm surprised that the Pac-12 guys haven't gotten more recognition. Bo Nix manages games, but very intellectual, doesn't make mistakes. And yet Bo Nix is still being portrayed as being a 13th pick. And Michael Penix plays with such passion, yet he's not there in the upper echelon. He's more of a back of the first round type guy. J.J. McCarthy's the one who's gotten all the fanfare. So, again, that's why you go through pro days. That's why you look at 2 years worth of video of J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, and maybe they're seeing things that I don't see. But and maybe he turns out. We didn't know anything about Brock Purdy, except he played at Iowa State and he was productive. But that was Iowa State. And obviously Tom Brady, wow, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, wow, Hall of Fame, exactly.
That's why you study it.
Okay, let's keep going here. Let's go to Gary. He says, Joey Bosa, typical Chargers. He could sprain his ankle and be out eating Raisin Bran in the stands for half the season.
He's not the other Bosa, Nick Bosa, who's also had one major injury, but Joey's hurt all the time. Big issue. He got paid based on what he did the first group of years coming out. You get 15 quarterback sacks and you create havoc coming off the edge, you're going to get a payday. But then he got hurt and he's had all types of injuries. And it's not that he's out of shape. He just, guys roll up on him. He gets blindsided, gets, wrist and forearms and ankles and knees. And so he took a pay cut. I think he's overpaid. I think he plays hard, just can't stay on the field to the level you want your superstar to be.
Isn't it weird how we see so many really fragile players in sports? We were just talking about Giancarlo Stanton, and now here's Joey Bosa. In your opinion, who is the most durable athlete that you have been so surprised by?
Well, you get quarterbacks who take unbelievable hits. Brady, I think, only had 2 major injuries in 23 years. Mm-hmm. And that's not a place, to be scared. You have to stand in there and make plays, and he made plays. I think Derrick Henry of Tennessee, for a heavy-duty guy, he gets a lot of carries every season. Derrick Henry's had a pretty good, with one exception, career with 1 major injury. So it's just such a tough physical game. And, and then you see guys that play in the offensive line. Cleveland Browns Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas never missed a game. What did he play, 13 years or 17 years in the NFL? It was phenomenal. They flashed up his last game of the season. They flashed it up on TV. How many games he has started, never came off the field. A little bit of luck in that, in addition to great skill. So it's just the NFL's such a tough game.
Do you believe in the phrase injury prone? Are some people legitimately injury prone, or do they just have bad habits?
No, I think there are some guys who are just injury prone. Closer to home, there was a young kid, a cornerback from Stanford by the name of Jason Verrett. Played here, high number 1 pick. Played here 5 years, 6 years. Couldn't stay on the field. Knees, ankles, Achilles tendon, shoulders. Went to the 49ers. Gifted athlete, could run, tremendous skill, coverage, all that. Couldn't stay on the field there. He's finally got released last year by San Francisco, and everybody tried for years to keep him on the field. Couldn't happen. I bet he had 8 to 10 major injuries in his career. And that's guys getting hurt, guys trying to defend a guy on an out route. Jason Verrett plants his foot to go with him, blows his Achilles out. It's just the flukeness of the injuries.
It's crazy how some of these guys are just there. They're in and they're out. I was thinking Phillip Rivers, I think, is a pretty durable quarterback.
17 years. I think he had the one injury, the knee injury, the year they thought they might go to the Super Bowl. He had the scope.
And he played on it with no ACL or something nuts.
LaDainian Tomlinson, tremendous career. You talk about heavy-duty carries, contact. He stayed on the field forever.
I think Manny Machado is maybe in that group too. Granted, he is coming off an injury right now, but he's had so few.
He's only had 2 injuries his whole career, one in Baltimore very early, and then what happened when he got hit by a pitch. Mm-hmm. And the game, he's so gifted. Game comes easy for him. It's really interesting to just watch Machado play the game. Some people say he looks lazy. It doesn't work. No, game comes easy.
Yeah, it does.
Easy for him. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our Monday Bonus podcast. We want you to tell all your friends. You need to come up with a game plan to help us promote what we're doing, because what we're doing here is pretty good. We're here Mondays at 1. We're here Thursdays at 1. And sandwiched in between, I'm bringing donuts. He's brewing coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday, Thursday, to see the Padres tango with the Dodgers. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center Stores. 9 locations to serve you for the unique projects you want to do around your home. And by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. When you need help with your eyes, and we all will, think about them. North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. John, we'll see you come early Wednesday morning. Mm-hmm. Padres-Dodgers can't wait for the opening of the baseball season, and we'll be back here on Thursday to analyze everything.
Is this maybe the greatest week in all of sports? MLB starting, March Madness starting. Boy, it's a good time.
Have yourself a great afternoon. We'll catch you come Thursday.
Okay, Lee.
And thank you for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.